Welcome back everyone to another exciting and eye-opening journey into the world of rare coins where the smallest pieces of metal can carry stories of history, mistakes, treasures and fortunes beyond imagination. Today we are going to talk about one of the most fascinating and talked about coins of modern American coinage, the Liberty 1-cent coin from the year 1982. At first glance it looks like any ordinary penny, something people might pass over without even noticing, but when you take a closer look you will realize that the 1982 Liberty 1-cent coin hides secrets and rare varieties that can make it worth a fortune. In fact, some examples of this coin have been valued in today's market at an astonishing $54 million, a mind-blowing amount considering its face value is just 1 cent. This incredible gap between face value and market value is what makes this coin so legendary among collectors, historians and investors. The story of the 1982 1-cent Liberty coin is full of twists, changes and unique circumstances in the history of the United States Mint. To understand why this coin became so important we have to go back to the early 1980s. Before 1982 all pennies were made primarily of copper, a metal that was abundant for many years and gave the American 1-cent coin its traditional reddish color. For decades people grew up seeing copper cents in their pockets, but by the late 1970s and early 1980s the value of copper itself began to rise dramatically. The cost of making a penny out of pure copper was becoming more expensive than the penny was worth, which was a huge problem for the U.S. Mint. Imagine producing a 1-cent coin that cost more than 1 cent to make. This was not sustainable. So in 1982 a major change happened in American coinage history. The U.S. Mint switched from making pennies out of 95% copper to producing them with a new composition of copper-plated zinc. These new coins had a zinc core with a thin layer of copper on the outside to maintain the familiar look, but they were much cheaper to produce. However, this was not a smooth transition. During 1982 both types of pennies were minted. That means there are copper pennies from 1982 and zinc pennies from 1982, and distinguishing between the two has become a major quest for collectors. Some of these varieties are extremely rare and because of that their value skyrocketed. The year 1982 also produced not just one or two but multiple varieties of the Liberty 1-cent coin. There were large date versions, small date versions, copper composition and zinc composition, all struck in different mints such as Philadelphia, Denver and San Francisco. When you put all these varieties together you get a fascinating puzzle of coinage history where small details make huge differences in value. A small change in the date, style, the weight of the coin or the mint mark could mean the difference between a penny that is worth only 1 cent and a penny that is worth thousands or even millions. This is why collectors often carry precise coin scales to weigh 1982 pennies, since the copper versions weigh 3.11 grams while the zinc versions weigh only 2.5 grams. That difference in weight has become one of the most important clues in identifying valuable varieties. One of the most significant aspects of the 1982 Liberty 1-cent coin is the existence of error coins. Errors happen during the minting process and sometimes these mistakes slip into circulation. Double dies, off-center strikes, transitional errors and wrong planchet errors are just some of the varieties that collectors dream about finding. In 1982, because of the composition change and the rush to produce billions of coins, errors became more likely. Transitional errors, where a coin intended to be struck in one composition was struck in another, are especially rare and valuable. It is exactly these unusual mistakes that have pushed the value of some 1982 pennies into the millions. Now let us talk about the incredible market value of this coin. While ordinary circulated 1982 pennies may not be worth more than face value, the rarest varieties and the rarest error coins from this year have set records in auctions and private sales. The current market value for the most exceptional 1982 Liberty 1-cent coin has reached an astonishing $54 million. This jaw-dropping figure shows just how far collectors are willing to go to own a piece of numismatic history. It is almost unimaginable to think that a coin most people overlook in their change could hold the power of such wealth, but the value of the 1982 Liberty 1-cent coin is not just about money. It is also about its role in telling the story of America's economy, the decisions of the U.S. Mint and the delicate balance between production costs and currency value. It represents a turning point in coinage when the country shifted from traditional copper coins to modern zinc-based coins. Collectors see it as a symbol of change, a marker in time and a reminder that even small coins can carry great historical significance. Another fascinating detail is the way collectors and treasure hunters search for these coins today. With magnifying glasses, scales and reference books, people look at every 1982 penny they come across. They search for the small date varieties that are harder to find, the copper versions that slipped through during the transition, and the mint mark placements that may be slightly off. This dedication to the hunt adds to the excitement and mystique of the 1982 Liberty 1-cent coin. It has created stories of people finding life-changing treasures in jars of old pennies or in pocket change they almost ignored. When we consider all of this together, the 1982 Liberty 1-cent coin is more than just currency. It is a piece of art, a piece of history, and a potential hidden fortune. Its rarity, its errors, its composition changes, and its varieties have turned it into one of the most talked about coins in the United States. The fact that some examples are valued at $54 million proves just how extraordinary it truly is. So the next time you come across a 1982 penny, do not ignore it. Take a closer look, weigh it, study the date, check for mint marks, and see if you might be holding one of the rarest coins in modern American history. Because who knows, that 1-cent coin could be worth a life-changing fortune. The story of the 1982 Liberty 1-cent coin reminds us that sometimes the smallest things hold the biggest value, and that history is all around us waiting to be discovered. It is not just a penny. It is a treasure, a mystery, and a symbol of change, worth far more than anyone could have ever imagined.